This is WhisperSister. I hope everybody is doing well out there, and I just wanted to say that my heart and my thoughts go out to everyone in New Zealand who is dealing with the effects of the earthquakes that they've had in Christchurch. I know there are a few whisperers who live in New Zealand, and I'm sure there are lots of listeners, and I just wanted to send my support, I guess, my thoughts to you, and I hope that everyone is safe, and your families and loved ones are okay. So, yeah, I'm doing well, but I just sort of, I guess I just sort of feel the need to talk. And it's not that I don't have anyone in my life that I can talk to, but I'm kind of in this mode where I have so much just flying around inside my head that every conversation I get into lately, like the last couple of days, is like particularly intense and one-sided, and I feel like I just need to sort of curb that a little bit. So I kind of just wanted to vent. It's not that there's anything wrong. It's just more ideas and theories and thoughts and things that are just circling around, and they're trying to come together, and they're almost like feels like it's almost sort of forming a coherent picture, but it's I'm sorry, hopefully the traffic is not too loud. I'm parked in a parking lot in the middle of my neighborhood. I really should probably have gone somewhere else, but anyway, this is sort of like an old school WhisperSister video, pretty much 100% self-indulgent navel gazing, so if that kind of thing annoys you, feel free to turn this off, and I'll try not to make it too long. But yeah, I just really needed to make a video like I used to, like no one is listening, even though I know that, I know a lot of you who are listening, and I appreciate everyone who does listen, but, I just need to make this, I just need to talk, just unburden myself a little bit, without worrying about who may be listening and what they may be thinking of me and all of that judgment and bullshit. So, yeah, I've been really thinking a lot lately about myself, and I know that sounds really selfish, and I'm sure it probably is on some level, but I'd like to say that my motives are good. I've found myself in a situation where honesty is called for. I need to get back in touch with the truth of my experience at the moment. Which really means I need to get back into the moment. I need to pull my attention into the present and start asking myself some questions and honestly answering. place for me, and I really strongly dislike this feeling. So I'm very grateful and excited that I find myself in a position where this is being triggered, because it's obviously something that I need to look at, and this is giving me an opportunity to do that. So that's actually a really good thing, and my motivation for sort of self-analysis in cases like this is to try and learn from the behaviors and the patterns that kick in. And I guess for me, the way that I figure I can learn from them is by analyzing and understanding them first and foremost, and then ideally, acting or choosing differently. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm at 8 minutes already, so this is probably going to be like a good, I don't know, half an hour at least. I don't want to make a habit of making really long videos, not that there's anything wrong with them, but I just, with the amount of whispers that are out there, I don't figure that, I don't know that people will have time to listen to hour-long videos from all of the whispers that they listen to, so I don't want to turn people off of listening at all because my videos are too long. I suppose I shouldn't really care, but I do like having listeners, and I like having people, enjoy my videos, so anyways, yeah, I'm not planning on making long videos very often, but this one might very well turn into a long video. So, here's some of what's been on my mind. I went to a play last week with a friend of mine, actually the friend that I'm living with, and it was pretty cool. It was like a one-man play, based partly on the work of an author called Gabor Mate, who wrote, I don't want to sound, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think he's like a Vancouver-based author, but I could be totally wrong. But he wrote some books he wrote a book called In the Realm of the Hungry Ghosts, or In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, I think it's called, and it's about addiction. And I haven't read it, but my friend read it, and she said it was really good. It looks at a lot of the underlying causes for addiction, I guess from the point of view that it's not the substance that matters, it's what causes people to employ addictive behaviors in general, which is very much sort of in sync with what I've honestly, at a longer arc over my life, I can see how they have been there all along. It's not just because of my recent experiences, which is kind of how I've been looking at it up until now. But anyway, okay. Let me read you this. Okay. Alrighty, so I am a type 4, which is the individualist. The sensitive, introspective type, expressive, dramatic, self-absorbed, and temperamental. 4s are self-aware, sensitive, and reserved. They are emotionally honest, creative, and personal, but can also be moody and self-conscious. Withholding themselves from others due to feeling vulnerable and defective, they can also feel disdainful and exempt from ordinary ways of living. They typically have problems with melancholy, self-indulgence, and self-pity. At their best, inspired and highly creative, they are able to renew themselves and transform their experiences. Their basic fear is that they have no identity or personal significance. Their basic desire is to find themselves and their significance to create an identity. The key motivations: they want to express themselves in their individuality, to create and surround themselves with beauty, to maintain certain moods and feelings, to withdraw, to protect their self-image, to take care of emotional needs before attending to anything else, and to attract a rescuer. And then it talks about when moving in their direction of disintegration or stress, aloof 4s suddenly become over-involved and clinging. However, when moving in their direction of integration or growth, envious, emotionally turbulent 4s become more objective and principled. Okay. I'm such a nerd. I printed all this stuff out of work. This is part of who I am. Okay. Type 4 overview. We have named this type the individualist because 4s maintain their identity by seeing themselves fundamentally different from others. 4s feel that they are unlike other human beings, and consequently that no one can understand them or love them adequately. They often see themselves as uniquely talented, possessing special, one-of-a-kind gifts, but also as uniquely disadvantaged or flawed. More than any other type, 4s are acutely aware of and focused on their personal differences and deficiencies. Healthy 4s are honest with themselves. They own all their feelings and can look at their motives, contradictions, and emotional conflicts without denying or whitewashing them. They may not necessarily like what they discover, but they do not try to rationalize their states, nor do they try to hide them from themselves or others. Healthy 4s are willing to reveal highly personal and potentially shameful things about themselves because they are determined to understand the truth of their experience, so that they can discover who they are and come to terms with their emotional history. This ability also enables 4s to endure suffering with a quiet strength. Their familiarity with their own darker nature makes it easier for them to process painful experiences that might overwhelm other types. Nevertheless, 4s often report that they feel they are missing something in themselves, although they may have difficulty identifying exactly what that something is. Is it willpower, social ease, self-confidence, emotional tranquility? All of which they see in others, seemingly in abundance. Given time and sufficient perspective, 4s generally recognize that they are unsure about aspects of their self-image, their personality, or ego structure itself. They feel that they lack a clear and stable identity, particularly a social persona that they feel comfortable with. While it is true that 4s often feel different from others, they do not really want to be alone. They may feel socially awkward or self-conscious, but they nurtured and hidden from the world. Yep. If over time such validation remains out of reach, fours begin to build their identity around how unlike everyone else they are. The outsider therefore comforts herself by becoming an insistent individualist. Everything must be done on her own, in her own way, on her own terms. Four's mantra becomes, I am myself. Nobody understands me. I am different and special. While they secretly wish they could enjoy the easiness and confidence that others seem to enjoy. Fours typically have problems with a negative self-image and chronically low self-esteem. They attempt to compensate for this by cultivating a fantasy self, an idealized self-image which is built up primarily in their imaginations. In the course of their lives, fours may try several different identities on for size, basing them on styles, preferences, or qualities they find attractive in others. But underneath the surface, they still feel uncertain about who they really are. The problem is that they base their identity largely on their feelings. When fours look inward, they see a kaleidoscopic, ever-shifting pattern of emotional reactions. Indeed, fours accurately perceive a truth about human nature, that it is dynamic and ever-changing. But because they want to create a stable, reliable identity from their emotions, they attempt to cultivate only certain feelings while rejecting others. Some feelings are seen as me, while others are not me. By attempting to hold on to specific moods and express others, fours believe that they are being true to themselves. One of the biggest challenges fours face is learning to let go of feelings from the past. They tend to nurse wounds and hold on to negative feelings about those who have hurt them. Indeed, fours can become so attached to longing and disappointment that they are unable to recognize the many treasures in their lives. There's a Sufi story that relates to this about an old dog that had been badly abused and was near starvation. One day the dog found a bone, carried it to a safe spot, and started gnawing away. The dog was so hungry that it chewed on the bone for a long time and got every last bit of nourishment that it could get out of it. After some time, a kind old man noticed the dog and its pathetic scrap and began quietly setting food out for it. But the poor hound was so attached to its bone that it refused to let go of it and soon starved to death. Fours are in the same predicament. As long as they believe that there is something fundamentally wrong with them, they cannot allow themselves to experience or enjoy their many good qualities. To acknowledge their good qualities would be to lose their sense of identity as a suffering victim, and to be without a relatively consistent personal identity, their basic fear. Fours grow by learning to see that much of their story is not true, or at least it is not true anymore. The old feelings begin to fall away once they stop telling themselves their old tale. It is irrelevant to who they are right now. Okay, so that's what's been on my mind in a nutshell. Because yeah, that's pretty much it. And again, it's nothing that I haven't already, God, it's nothing that you guys don't already know. I've already talked about all this stuff enough. That's not really the point. It's just that, I don't know, it's, I'm at a crossroads, really. I've also been doing I've started doing my steps, as part of the meeting that I've been going to. So basically the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I'm just really involved in this process of self-exploration, and I am so sick of analyzing myself, understanding everything perfectly well, perfectly clearly, and the fact that I still make mistakes, or choose to do things that have, you know, undesirable effects and consequences. I just end up using that as a weapon to beat myself up. So I think it's kind of like a matter of finding a balance between taking responsibility for my choices and my life, basically, my actions. You know, because I do know, like I said, I know damn well that I'm perfectly capable of acting the way I want to act. So, it's a matter of finding a balance between taking responsibility and expecting myself to be perfect. Because, what I've noticed is that I tend to create this cycle. Maybe I thought it was a singular incident when it happened with my ex, but it wasn't. It's a cycle that I'm repeating, and I don't want to. The cycle is like it says in that little description, I do tend to interpret the world through the lens of my emotions. That is the way that I experience things, is emotionally, and I'm not sure why, but I feel the need, and it happens almost instantaneously most of the time, to judge those emotions, and most of the time condemn them. So whatever I'm feeling is wrong, basically. And so I have attempted to disguise myself as a thinker, and I do love thinking, but I think extremely emotionally. Even when I'm thinking, it's an emotional process, really. But yeah, I've tried to kind of like pass myself off as an analyzer. But yeah, I've tried to kind of pass myself off as an analyzer, and I've gotten very good at it. And I've even gotten to enjoy it, but it's not, I'm not a logic-driven person. And I think that, I need to accept that about myself and take responsibility for it so that I can start to be responsible, be disciplined, but not in denial, because as long as I'm just trying not to be who I am, I'm only ever going to create conflict and discord, and that usually ends up erupting in some way that give me, like, the only moments that I've had, say, for example, in this last year, because this has been a process of really observing this whole thing at work. There have been moments that have absolutely caught me off guard. Things I could not have planned, and things I couldn't control at the time. And that feeling of having no choice but to admit to reality and how I was feeling, and to be honest, like, that's why I spill so much in these videos, I think. Well, maybe that's just a symptom of it, but there's like, I've gotten so good at erecting a facade that all I want is something to just knock it down and force me to be real. And that's a dangerous thing, because I often get that wish. That wish gets granted, and it's not always pleasant. So I'm kind of hoping that if I can take a bit of responsibility for it, that maybe I can avoid, maybe, I mean, to me that sounds like just another example of trying to be in control, but whatever. I'm just trying to be responsible for myself, and anyway, what I was going to say was, life is never as fulfilling and satisfying as when it's unscripted and real. It's the thing that I want more than anything, and in order to experience that, I have to let go of control. And I'm kind of surprised, or well, frustrated and discouraged, I guess, to find myself back in this position where I'm trying so hard to maintain control, because that's how it was when I was with my ex. And I mean, I guess I knew all along on some level that it was never him that was the problem, although I did try to hold on to that for way longer than I needed to, or than I should have. But, you know, like, the things that you struggle with, they don't go away because you change partners or have no partner or whatever. So the process has been one of, I mean, that was a much more extreme version of this. This is just like, I can catch it, I can see it and feel it starting, and I'm just trying to avoid going down that road because it sucks. It sucked. I spent years just trying to keep everything together and trying to do all the right things, and when I finally let go and gave up control, it was pretty volatile, and I'd be lying if I said that part of me didn't love it. But I hope I can avoid having to go to that extreme again, I guess, because I also hurt people, and I don't like that. If I could do it without hurting people, if I was even the only one who got hurt, I think I'd be fine with it, because at least it's, at least it's an emotional feeling, at least it's something, at least you feel alive, even if you're hurting. I mean, I can say that now, because I've got a safe distance from it, but I think that if I was the only one who got hurt by the things that I things that make up who we are. They're not inherently bad. They're not liabilities. They're just, we each have our own unique sets of challenges and behaviors that we adopt as coping mechanisms, really. Defenses more so. It's a natural process, but the things that we develop that are designed to protect us end up they end up separating us and isolating us from people who... I think I have to go. I think somebody's about to lock the gate. Somebody's wondering what I'm doing. Or there's a drug deal going down or something. Anyway, yeah. The walls that are meant to protect us are the very walls that keep us feeling separate and alone. And so I think that these walls that we form, it's easy to look at somebody else's, you can call them defects or whatever, with compassion, because they're not personal to you. But the things that you do that keep you distant from other people, at least in my experience, they become the things that are the least forgivable. They're the most despicable traits, because deep down that they are the things that keep you captive and scared and alone. And I think that our natural state is to be connected and open and honest and all of those things that I so rarely feel safe enough to be, but that drive everything I do. They are the reason I think the way I think and work as hard as I do to try and figure shit out. It's not just because I have nothing better to do with my time. I want to feel loved. Everyone wants to feel loved and connected. And I think that that is our natural state. It's just, like I said, the walls that we erect are the only things that keep us from feeling that. And they're all illusions. They're all unnecessary if we have the capacity to realize that that they are the only thing keeping us apart. I really believe that. But of course it's easier said than done when you're dealing with things that are so ingrained that they become unconscious almost. And I think the only thing worse than being unconscious of things like that is to be conscious of them and to feel either powerless or unwilling to do anything to change them. Because then you just judge yourself relentlessly for just being who you are, and it is exhausting, and it's really a waste. It's really a waste of life. It's a waste of time. So I don't know who I'm talking to right now. I guess myself. I've been deliberately trying to hold this kind of thing back, because it's another one of those things that I whisper channel that is perfect for that kind of thing, and I really appreciate you guys listening. I think that there's a quote. I'll read it to you. I love quotes, obviously. Let's see if I can find. Actually, no, I won't find it in the book. It'll take too long. I think I remember it anyway. It says something to the effect of, if you would know the secret to right relations, look only for the divine in people and things, and leave the rest up to God. And I'm sort of trying to adopt that as my mantra, my approach to life at the moment. Instead of looking for dangers and creating problems where there are none, I'm just trying to look for the good in everyone. Look only at the good in everyone, including myself. And that's a tricky one, but it's the basis, really. And I'm actually getting better, which is really cool. Every once in a while I have to stop and remind myself that, not very long ago at all, like, it's only been a little over a year now, I absolutely despised myself. I hated myself. Pretty much everything about me. I absolutely despised it. And I couldn't imagine ever feeling any different than that. And today I still struggle with shame and guilt and embarrassment and all of this, whatever I struggle with. But I can honestly say that I don't think I'm a horrible person, and I don't hate myself anymore. And so that is pretty freaking amazing for me to be able to say that. And the fact that I've come to a point where I take that for granted and actually complain and bitch and worry about the stuff that I worry about is also pretty remarkable. And I have to remember that as well. If I could have imagined myself like this a year and a half ago, I would have been pretty stoked. So I'm actually not doing all that bad. But I want more. I always want more. I want to be more. This is what I want on a basic level, is to make a conscious and continuous decision to turn over my whole being with all of its flaws and all of its gifts over to just to put it in the service of the greater good, whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it God or the universe or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I want to offer it up to be used to make people's lives better and to just have a positive effect on the world. That is my sincere desire. I honestly don't know if I'm there yet, because there's some part of me that's holding on to my own will and my own insistence to try and be in control of how that asked him a question. He said, how can I overcome and transcend all of my challenges and all of the sort of negative aspects of my personality so that I can enjoy the gifts that I do have. You know, I mean, creativity, for example, is not a bad thing. Sensitivity is not even a bad thing when used correctly. Emotions are not a bad thing, you know. I have to keep reminding myself of that, but, you know, he asked this question, how can I overcome, you know, the challenges and use who I am, you know, be able to reap the benefits of the good parts of who I am and not have to succumb to the negative parts. And I think, personally, that the answer to that question lies in the difference between whether you're living for the sake of your ego and self-preservation, your small, limited human self, or whether you are willing to put all of those things at the service of the larger consciousness or whatever it is, and just be a vehicle and an instrument of the universe. Because, yeah, creativity and the gifts that I have, if I could really honestly offer them to, I'm just going to call it God, and be completely uninvested in the outcome of that, and realize that it's not my call how that plays out, but be willing to just continue to do the next right thing every time, make the next choice that leads me in the direction of being loving and compassionate and all of these things, and using my gifts to accomplish that, then I think that that's the key to transcending the sort of shadow aspects of your personality. But as long as you are using them, as long as you see yourself as your ego, there will always be fear, and there will always be defensiveness, and all of the behaviors that get triggered to defend against that. I understand these things, and I believe them, and yet I still sometimes am weak, and I make mistakes, and then I just judge myself so harshly. I just want to let down my guard, allow myself to be unarmed and authentic. And there have been times over the last year when I felt that. And I think that a mistake that I'm making at the moment is to try and recapture that by recreating the situations and factors that created that in the first place, when I know it doesn't work that way. And in doing that, all I'm really doing stressing me out, and I guess I just want to say that I'm aware of it, and yeah, see, here I go again, imagining what people might be thinking. If this sounds like an excuse or a justification, it might very well be. I don't know. Okay, I just need to stop talking. Oh, God. Oh, my God. I feel a little bit better, so thank you for humoring me on this. I might have to make more frequent videos so I can avoid making these long videos. But yeah, I'm just gonna upload this and leave it at that. And I also just wanted to say, if anyone's actually still listening and not fast asleep, rune reading videos, I have not forgotten. I've just been, as you can tell, I've just been really clouded with my own stuff, and to be quite honest, I haven't been able to put that aside, which I think I need to do in order to do those rune readings, because otherwise I'm just bringing all of this clutter, mental clutter, to the readings. So bear with me. I am feeling more clear than I have in the last few weeks, so I think I should be able to do those, do some more readings very soon. And like I said before, if anybody has messaged me with specific issues that have since been resolved, or you've since had more pressing issues come up, feel free to send me another message. Sorry. So for now I'm gonna go. I've got a party to go to tomorrow.